Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Simply Street English podcast. My name is Jake and today, actually, it's Good Friday. So I thought I'd release this episode because it's talking about Easter and all different things. It's perfect for this subject matter today. Before we begin, I just want to say thank you to everyone that's joined the Patreon so far. The page, it's super exciting because there's only been, I think this is the 14th episode. So thanks everyone for joining that. If you haven't seen it yet, it's where you can get all the transcripts from all the episodes that I've done so far and all future ones that I get done as well. So check that out, simplystreetenglish.com. No, try again. Patreon.com/simplystreetenglish. You can become a member and get all the transcripts. Cool. Let's have a little look at today's subject then. So, going to talk about Easter time in the UK. So, beginning with Lent, right? I don't know if you've heard of Lent before, but Lent is a 40-day period or length of time before Easter. And it's important in the Christian calendar because you can take 40 days of preparing for Easter. And some people give up, these days, people give up things like chocolate or social media or something like that. Or they start doing good things or something, just something a bit different to the normal every day. So in the 40 days that lead up to Easter. And it begins on Ash Wednesday. I'll come to that in a moment. A bit more about Lent though. First, actually, I think I'll just mention that Easter itself, and I'll talk about what Easter is. You probably know already, but it's to give you some vocabulary around it. But Easter doesn't have a fixed date. There's no date every year, not the same date every year. It changes every year. It's usually in March or April. The 40 days leading up to it is called Lent. So what is Lent? It's a 40-day period of preparation, that's what I said, before Easter Sunday. Traditionally, it's a time for fasting, prayer, and reflection for Christians on their calendar. The word Lent comes from the Old English word lengthen, which means springtime. I didn't know that before, but it's interesting. So it's for us Christians to spend 40 days of preparing our hearts before Easter. Why 40 days? 40 days, I believe it represents the 40 days that Jesus spent fasting in the desert, according to the Bible. And during that time, Jesus was tempted, but he stayed strong. And Christians try to do the same by giving something up or doing something kind or spiritual. That's what this says here. And it began in the early centuries of Christianity. By the 4th century, the church had formalized Lent as a season of preparation for Easter. So it used to be much stricter. People would eat like a small meal a day or something without meat, dairy or eggs. But it's changed. And culturally, I think a lot of people do this here. And they say, what are you giving up for Lent? What are you giving up for Lent, right? When you give something up, you leave it alone. You don't touch it anymore. And people do it for that 40-day period. It's very common for people to give up chocolate, for example. I remember when I was in school, teachers and people would say, what are you giving up for Lent? Because people do it as a tradition. I think some people who aren't Christians as well do it. They just, I think, do it for the health kick sometimes, like, oh, I could probably just give up chocolate for now, but that's not what it's meant to be for. But things change over time, which is, sometimes it's a shame, but it's also just typical of humans. Things change over time. Some people give something up and others take something on, which is a bit more, I guess that's very different actually to how it should, it's usually a time of temperance or giving things up, but some people take things on like better habits or things like that. The focus is on spiritual growth and preparing for Easter. So Lent is that kind of 40 days of preparing for Easter. What else could I say about Lent? I think that's it for Lent. I'm going to go for the other days that we've got associated with Easter. So I mentioned Ash Wednesday, and it's to do. Ash Wednesday is the day that Lent starts. What is significant about Ash Wednesday? Well, often there are church services, and people go and you can get a cross of ash put on your forehead as a symbol. It's a symbol of being sorry and starting fresh. So the priest or whoever will literally, or the reverend vicar will put some ash and make a sign of a cross on your forehead. I have been to services like that before. So Ash Wednesday, that's when Lent starts. And so the day before that, though, I should have done this before because it comes the day before Ash Wednesday. It's called Shrove Tuesday. It's the day that before Lent starts. And I believe it comes from when the Israelites were in the desert and they were not using leaven or something for their bread. I think that's where it comes from. So then we made pancakes. Haven't actually looked up the complete history of it. I think I'll just have a quick look now and see what I can do. But yeah, Shrove Tuesday. It's also called Pancake Day. So it's the day where people obviously make pancakes, and so that's changed from being a full-on Christian tradition of Shrove Tuesday to Pancake Day, which is a bit more, I think, just like general. People just do it, and it's come from these Christian traditions that we have. So let me have a look at what else I can find on Shrove Tuesday. So Shrove comes from the old word shrive, which actually means to confess your sins. I didn't know that. So yeah, it's part of the Lent season, or just before Lent, right? So it's about confessing and preparing spiritually for Lent. Nowadays it's called Pancake Day. Well, people also call it Pancake Day, and they make pancakes and they're very delicious. But it's also because it's to start, like you start a season of fasting, like I mentioned, in Lent. So you might give up rich ingredients like milk, eggs, butter, sugar, something like that. Some people actually have pancake races in the UK. Didn't know that. Oh, of course, you have a pancake in a pan and run around. Right, okay, that's cool. But yeah, I don't know about the history of it though. As in, I don't know the specifics for some reason. Let me see what I can find. I'm doing it on the fly. To do something on the fly is to do something as you're going along. So I'm speaking and looking this up at the same time. So this should be interesting. Yeah. Oh, man, I'm not finding anything else apart from but I definitely think it's from it's from a church tradition, right? But I reckon it stems from the Israelites not using certain ingredients and things in the desert. But I'd have to look that one up. However, this is just a quick overview of all the different days we have. So anyway, I've already digressed a little bit. So that's Shrove Tuesday. Then there's Ash Wednesday, and that's when Lent begins. The next day of significance is Palm Sunday. Now, Palm Sunday is the Sunday before Easter, so 7 days before Easter. And it's the time when Christians remember Jesus entering Jerusalem, where people were waving palm branches. So palm branches are branches of a palm tree, if that makes, well, it does make sense, but that's what a palm branch is. And on Palm Sunday, there might be palm leaves waved about, perhaps, or put on the outside. And as people go to the service, some churches give out small palm crosses, so crosses made from palm leaves, and that's the Sunday we call Palm Sunday. And obviously, the palm comes from the branches, right? So when Jesus went to Jerusalem, the people were waving palm branches. And palm, as an interesting word, is also the word for on our hand, the big flat space on the inside. That's your palm, but it's also a type of tree. So don't get those confused. Palm Sunday has nothing to do with your hands, apart from perhaps holding a palm branch, okay? The next significant day we have is Maundy Thursday. Not Monday Thursday, Maundy. So Maundy Thursday. And that is the Thursday before Easter Sunday. So that comes between Palm Sunday and Easter Sunday on the Thursday. And it is there as a reminder of the Last Supper. So the final meal that Jesus had with his disciples. So what we have is churches will have services, and they will usually be quiet and reflective, just like the services coming up on Good Friday. But I'll get to that in a minute. So An interesting fact, the king sometimes gives Maundy money to older people in the special service, church service. I have to look that one up. Maundy money. I guess that's a tradition that goes back a long time. I've never heard of that one, but that's cool. I mentioned Good Friday. That's the next date that is, that is associated with Easter. It's cool. It's the Friday before Easter, so that's today, on this very day, the 18th of the 4th, 2025. It's the day that we remember that Jesus died, and so it doesn't sound very good, does it? But it's obviously something that is holy and important, so that's why it has good in it. It's a sad day in terms of, Jesus was killed, was crucified, but it's good because we know ultimately the reason for it. It's a day that Christians go to church, and they're usually quite solemn. That's a good word, solemn. So solemn can mean quiet. It can mean where you take time to think about things. Serious. That's another word for it. So the services are more quiet and thoughtful. Sometimes on Good Friday, it doesn't have to be Good Friday, but you can eat things like hot cross buns. They're like sweet buns with raisins in them with a cross on the top, and they are delicious. I bought some yesterday, and they're really good either with butter or toasted with butter. Some people, this is digressing a bit, some people or some shops sell very strange flavours like rhubarb and custard or chocolate orange. I prefer to keep to the normal ones mostly, but I bought some banoffee ones yesterday, which is banana and toffee, and I want to try them and see what they're like. Anyway, the food isn't the main thing about the day. It's about going to the church service and remembering the Good Friday is rooted in that day that Christ was crucified, and that is the reason for Good Friday. That's the traditional meaning for it, the reason for Good Friday. And then we have a whole day in between Good Friday and Easter Sunday, which is just Saturday, and nobody calls it anything. It's just an any old, I can say any old Saturday. There's no name given to it, but it's just that space in between Friday and Sunday, which is like every week, okay? Then we come to the main event, which is Easter Sunday. And so really, this should be the most important day in the Christian calendar. Even more important than Christmas. I mean, without the birth of Christ, we wouldn't have the resurrection either. So they're both important. However, this is considered to be the most important day in the Christian calendar, the day of resurrection of Jesus, right? So there are church services all up and down the country, and people get together in family or friends and have a big roast dinner and give thanks for the time of Lent, which is usually a time of fasting or giving things up, and then you break the fast of whatever you've been giving up, and you feast together and you give thanks to the Lord. And usually people have things like lamb or beef, things like that. And it's also common for people to have things like Easter eggs, give to children and do Easter hunts. But they are less Christian, but they are still done in the UK. There's not a tradition that stems from Christianity, I don't think, for Easter eggs. I think it comes from something else. But there's no specific day for Easter egg hunts. I guess people do it on Easter. I've had them before, and they're quite fun. As a child, my dad would make Easter egg hunts for us, which was really cool. And yeah, so that's Easter Sunday, and it's a good time to be with family or friends. Then we have, so I should mention probably that Good Friday is a national holiday in the UK. So today I don't have to work. And I also don't have to work on Easter Monday. That's another public holiday today. On Monday. It's called Easter Monday. It's the day after Easter Sunday. And it's another holiday. We just get to have a bit more time off to go for walks, see family, or have a long weekend, go for an adventure. And Easter's a really good time off for teachers. They get 2 weeks off, and so do the school kids. And there's lots of things like, I think I mentioned Easter egg hunts and stuff like that. An Easter egg hunt is where they go hunting for Easter eggs that people have hidden around places. Again, not really from a Christian origin, but something that kids enjoy. You know, who doesn't enjoy finding chocolate? And yeah, what else could I say? There's the Easter Bunny, but I don't know where that comes from really. And people just, I think it's just very marketed. What's the word? Shops and businesses seem to just kind of commercialize everything. So yeah, it's a very big thing in the shops around this time. People buy Easter eggs and stuff. And I think in the UK, people are not recognizing the traditions of the country in terms of the Christian traditions as much. People seem to just go for the easier things like chocolate and stuff, which is the state of our country. It's the way things are going, I think. But still, there are many, many people that still stick to the Christian traditions that have built this country. And Easter is a brilliant time for it because there's so many. Like I've just mentioned, all the different days to do with Easter. I think next year I'd like to do Lent a little bit more seriously. I didn't really give anything up. It's not like you have to. But I did take on a reading, right? So I was reading something every day, a little reading. And yeah, that's been really cool. So I did take something up. It was like 40 days of readings from the Bible and some devotionals, being reflective and a bit of time of prayer as well. So that's actually been quite cool. I've enjoyed that. Next year, I'll try and give something up as well to do a bit of fasting. I hope I get to do that. I honestly think chocolate is a good idea because I just really enjoy it, and it's about giving something up that you really enjoy. Or wine, because I have a wine every now and then at the weekend, like with dinner, so I could give that up, but I don't drink that every day, so that wouldn't be too difficult. Anyway, that's all the days that I can think of to do with Easter. It's Good Friday today, so I'm going to go to church and go to one of those quieter services and enjoy that. And then Sunday, eating with friends and enjoying the long weekend. So we have 4 days off: Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I might go on an adventure on Monday. Who knows? Might just jump in the car and go. Anyway, I hope this has been interesting to you as an English learner. If you're not learning English and you've just been listening anyway, then great. I'm glad. Thank you for listening as well. That's really fun. Anyway, if you want the whole transcript, it will be available on Patreon, and you know where to find that. I won't bore you with that anymore. Thank you for listening, and have a great Easter. Ciao.